I don't think they've like prepped it super hard or they're super comfortable on it because they have banned it frequently and it doesn't exactly cater to their playstyle. But I feel like they gotta have something up their sleeve, Benny. I feel like they have to.
It depends because they banned Villa and Clubhouse, which Clubhouse wasn't been their frequent ban per se, but at the same point they just played Clubhouse against PB, so that's maybe why they banned it. So maybe CJ is right in what he's talking about. I don't know. Maybe what you're talking about is right too. Maybe they are aware that they want to play a team like One Shot and Coastline. They're able to fight back against that aggression. As whether or not, well, Lions the first ban for One Shot, they're looking to throw hands on their defense.
They not happy with Arrow playing Lion so frequently. They said no, no more of that, Mr. Arrow. I don't know his name. I blanked on it. Next two bans coming out, Thatcher and Valkyrie. Again, those are actually the most common defensive ban for One Shot, most common attacker ban IF, or one of the most common. And then to round things out is Amira. So for Coastline in general, but in maps in general, this is pretty common. I would say the biggest thing is the Lion. One, because obviously good ban on Coast, but also because it's likely trying to counter out Arrow. The Thatcher as well, we also saw how well it was used on Chalet specifically, but there are enough differences between Coast and Chalet. I don't know if it's as much of a cross transfer as it might be.
Yeah, I don't know. Even without Arrow being the main player, just Lion in general on this map is used, if used well. And we saw Lion used well last two rounds on top of it from Arrow. It makes sense to get him out of here and let One Shot roam free and start taking shots. But we'll see what happens though. We go to Hookah and Bullets for our first defense, and it's interesting with the new changes to Coastline. I feel like Hookah Bullets isn't the site to go to anymore. But maybe that's just me.
Benny, guess what?
Oh, what's up?
Arrow's on Zoe.
They're letting him free? They promoted him?
Well, I don't want to be mean, but last time we saw entry Arrow, it wasn't exactly the best showing. While Arrow has had a glow up, it has come off the back of a role swap onto a less aggressive role in the forefront. So this will be interesting on a map like Coast, especially. Can Arrow channel some of that aggression that he lacked for some stages? It'll be super fun if he does, and he can carry through that performance overall. Because again, since they did ban that Lion, I imagine he was gonna play a bit more of a passive role. So he could get a little bit more active on that Zofia. He doesn't necessarily have to, I will say. Like, just because he plays Zofia doesn't mean he's going to be an entry. Just, sometimes what the operator's associated with. For IF overall, still a fair bit of emphasis on utility. You have that Flores, but still, I would say Flores you can use on Coastline, Capital, and Buck as well. Buck maybe not in the same vein as the other two. Still plenty of uses for these ops. Buck especially on Hookah. Go down below, open up the floors. Opportunities galore.
No, opportunities galore. Looks like Inrio's trying to find opportunities inside of Sunrise. Crouch walking that Gemla replicator in. Sees one player sitting behind the bar. Can he do the same and try to crouch walk his way in and deal with Storms? Is there going to be a pinch? We saw Giddy on the far side by service entrance. Maybe they're looking to pinch out Storms and cut him off before he retreats back upstairs. Inrio trying to find a long angle into sight over that bar. Ooh, what a small angle. I saw that Storm's going to peek through it. No, he's going to wait for the second, just see if he can keep himself there. So what is IF's next play here? Where are the rest of the IF? What are they doing?
Well, Giddy right now is entering in from kitchen. Unfortunately for him, a prox alarm that evaded his vision for a little bit has now been found out. So his position is signaled to anybody on One Shot who has keen ears, mainly Storms, who's on the same plane of existence as Giddy right now. Suelen as well, getting a little bit aggressive, will open up that office door and cross right as the Flores is currently watching it. Mention Arrow on the entry. He's the one to get the opening pick. That's on the Slippery. Not sure where he was playing, but still an opening pick that so far has gone untraded and now compounded upon by the other members of IF. Is aging pretty well so far. He'll even move into security, but he might not have anything to do by the end of this round, as everyone from IF is eager to get on the scoreboard. 3 kills for 3 different members, and now Quartz and Kilo are the only 2 left on the site right now. Inrio is the one to pepper some shots into Kilo, so it's on Vivid and Giddy to try to pick up the pace and get their 1 frag on the board for this round. Imagine Vivid will continue playing a bit further back, but Giddy might be the next one to get things on the board if he decides to send it up cool vibes.
Looking for that team ace here from the side of One Shot. I mean, One Shot for IF. And now, never mind, the one team ace is off the board now. It's just Kilo in a 1v5. He's looking for somebody to shoot at the DMR. He finds nobody. Flawless round from IF. And what I just say, I said, I told you this site is just.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you, Yoda? Like, what?
I am old.
That's true. You are old. But yeah, I mean, that was flawless round from IF to start things out. Arrow opening up that entry. There were about, I would say, like, what, 3 members or so, Benny, that were all playing off-site to obviously varying degrees, but some playing inside of Sunrise, some playing inside of Office, and everyone that was playing off-site was killed. And then it was like, oh, crap. Kilo and Vivid. Or not Kilo and Vivid. Kilo and Quartz. They're the only 2 left. And then they both died as well because everyone from IF pushed in. And Rio gets a 3K to end off the round. Not much to say about that. If IF Chalet attacks were clean, by the book, and well thought out, that was just carrying on the torch into Coastline.
Yeah, that was a great way to pinch out all of those players. They just systematically dealt with the player inside of Office, dealt with the player inside of Kitchen or Service, wherever what player was at. I don't know what first kill was for him, but still, they worked perfectly together to deal with every single player as a team, pinch them out, get those kills, put them in the man advantage, and then they just have to figure out, hey, we just got to get the last 2 players on site. Easy peasy. When we go down to our next site, it's double bars for our next site. And this is going to be interesting because this site can be difficult to play. You have to play upstairs and try and hold that top floor, especially billiards and hookah for, some amount of time. So you don't let people like, Giddy on the buck just tear up that floor and make it, a very horrible situation if you're playing on site. Just stay there.
It is a little bit difficult to hold if you don't at least have somebody contesting that top floor, or vice versa if they're attacking horizontal, somebody contesting that kitchen as well. It's important that you cover your bases, but don't spread yourself too thin. Right now, Giddy isn't pushing directly into hookah. Right now, he's clearing out VIP. A little bit problematic for Storms, especially because directly below that floor, while he does have a C4, Skeleton Key could be opening up the ceiling above him momentarily the moment IF realize that it's clear, which it is. They can go in at any time they want, and as long as they're careful of that C4, they can open up that floor and even make strides into hookah and billiards, and I don't believe, Benny, that anybody's playing there as well. I think they've rotated down.
I don't know if anybody's even up there. There's a reinforcement there, so I'm assuming you're right. Somebody was reinforcing and then rotated back downstairs. So this is a purely horizontal roam from the side of one shot. If IF can take control of hookah, clear the entire floor, that in billiards, and then just deny the rotates, kill the anchors, this could be a minimalist play from IF to take the round. Could be. It's always how it be. Depends on what the rest of one shot does, because they're known for that aggressive. We expect them to take fights, so they could go for a flank later on. They don't have a no-man store. They don't have any flank operators to stop that from happening. But it looks like Quartz, another player, are going to be the first one to feel the depths of Giddy. He just walks in, and Giddy did not expect somebody right there.
I imagine there was some tomfoolery going on in that rotate hole based on Giddy's reaction. Oh, but Quartz getting a lot of kills based on that rotate right there. Subarctic, the second one to fall. Kilo just peeks out, gets the kill at that point, mine as well. Vivid's got to pick up the pieces. Next, Kairos unfortunately stuck on that windowsill. Him and Arrow stuck in the man disadvantage at the moment. Not necessarily stuck, I should say. There's a chance they could bring the odds back in their favor, but not as long as Quartz continues getting aggressive on that hole. But he's low on HP now, so I doubt we'll see him get as aggressive as he has been over the course of this round so far, especially because he has those 2 toxic canisters, but he's also looking to rotate up Cool Vibes, so I imagine Quartz will just do whatever he's feeling in the moment, and that'll be enough. Slippery right now is head looking directly at Vivid. Unfortunately, the Hibana not able to transfer the crosshair onto his head, so he can continue sitting behind the jail wall. Not too scared all that much about what could potentially happen. With 30 seconds left, Benny, hard to see how IF can find an avenue in this round the longer the time dwindles down.
He's still playing that half wall. Arrow doesn't know.
They just don't know.
Oh, no, Arrow. Oh, no. He gets both. He gets wow. But unfortunately, that round just it was.
Did it not call that?
I don't think I guess maybe he didn't.
He saw him.
Maybe it worse because there was no roam from the side of one shot, but unfortunately, due to a bug or an issue with moving through that wall, he walks in and Quartz has an SMG-11 just pointing at the ceiling, deals with Giddy, gets a shocking kill in the second. And elsewhere, another player also dies, leaves into a 2v4 because someone else peeks, loses their life from the side of one shot. There's not a lot you can do there. Especially with no soft vision, no vertical play, really. Not a lot you can do there for IF. One shot take that round pretty handily. We go to Kitchen and Service for our next site.
And a 6-pick by Arrow on 2. His comfort op, his bread and butter, the Maverick. You might be wondering, why is he bringing Mav on Coastline? Well, honestly, it's not for the primary gadget. Usually, if we do see a Mav, it's just like good gun and nades.
Actually, it's for the primary gadget.
It could be. Okay, here's what I will say. Because of that VIP wall upstairs, it could actually be for the primary gadget because there is marginally more hard-breaching application on Coastline in general, and if you're going to bring one, you might as well just bring a Mav who, again, has a good gun and nades. So it's not an unreasonable pick by any means, especially because, again, it is Arrow's comfort op. It's the op he's played to get the highest rated position, or the highest rated player in the season so far, so I defer to him. I think
it depends on how one shot plays, really.
That is true, of course. But even then, honestly, if they don't use the hard breaching, again, it's a good gun and nades. On Coastline, where utility isn't the name of the game, you can afford an op like that.
True. Economy's there. They can afford.
True.
Yeah, like whenever I think of that VIP wall, I always think back to one of those LATAM games where they were, I think it was Black Dragons playing against someone, and they just Mavericked, blow towards the top of the wall of VIP, and they just had a long angle into all of VIP and the hallway as well, and it made it almost entirely impossible to rotate through there because of that angle. So I say that, but the wall soft looks like, so it's not even a matter. So the VIP wall should be taking over control pretty quickly. There's only one player playing on cool vibes from the side of one shot, so it should be pretty easy for, you know, IF to take this control of VIP, open up the floor, see if anybody's playing inside the kitchen and push them out. The question is, they don't one shot, even though last round they had that control for IF. One shot still was able to win the round based on kills though, so it's interesting to see what one shot does in response to IF taking this control.
So far, it just appears that they're rotating down. They're not trying to hold onto it too firmly, and I think that's fine. While it is gonna suck playing inside a kitchen, especially once Giddy starts opening up that floor. It's almost more of an eventuality, it feels like, on kitchen sometimes, that they're gonna make that way on in. Unless you get super aggressive, if you don't want to do that, you're just gonna have to let it happen at this point. You can disagree or agree with that, but it's the strategy that one shot are going for, and the strategy that Giddy will exploit. First C4 goes out, unfortunately goes wide. It's the only one for one shot, unfortunately. So that one bit of utility they had to get that verticality, no longer a factor. They'll have to take the quartz route, which is using the holes that Giddy makes against IF, but that is a much less certain strategy than just a C4 placed on the floor if you have the intel.
It's interesting too, because Giddy's actually by himself. He actually could be flanked by member one shot because nobody from IF is with Giddy to keep control, but it doesn't
Never mind.
He's actually dead.
Works.
Again, Quartz is my man again to deal with that soft destruction. 2 rounds in a row, he'll deal with Giddy. Looks like a firebolt was put out to try and stop that position, to stop that rotate between sites. Inrio's taking his place. Doesn't have soft breaching, but at least can look through those holes already made by Giddy to try and take a shot onto Quartz. But otherwise, IF is falling apart.
Not necessarily so. They did manage to find Quartz, a Giddy sleep paralysis demon, inside a service, so they did manage to take down those toxic canisters. Do lack in the man advantage, but it's not unheard of. I think on Coastline as well, if they just get a couple more angles in their control, say, okay, well, never mind. I was going to say maybe clear out the players up top, but Swalen unfortunately catches Inrio off guard. Now it's 2v4. Vivid has managed to work his way inside of the site, but separated from Subarctic. One shot have effectively isolated them. They can get that kill. Subarctic will get one, likely to pad his stats. A second as well, spots him on the floor. Dashing through the Aruna gate as well. Okay, hold on a sec. 10 seconds left. An effective 1v1 on the site. Swalen has time to drop down, but Slippery is currently playing fast and loose with the Finka, so unfortunately goes unread. Takes him down in the end. That seemed winnable by Subarctic after he got those first 2 kills. But the moment Slippery rotated out, didn't take the heads-on fight, wasn't going to happen anymore.
Yeah, there was no time left for those fights, and he still had to play upstairs too with vertical pressure. If they had the open holes as well, he could have denied a plan from above as well. So, not sure how possible that was, but still a good try from him. We go on to back to hookah and billiards for one shot, which that was the only round where IF flawless, dealing with it roam pretty damn well. But last round too, they had the control they need, but it seems like vertically they're opening up the holes, but they're losing those fights. And even though there's no roam game from one shot, it still ends up being that transfer into the horizontal push that kills them every single, on the last 2 rounds at least, every single time, but this round and last round.
Not the Twitch 6-pick.
Oh, no.
Not again. It's not Swalen doing it. He's on the defense. It's Subarctic on the attack, switching from the Finka, which he has played religiously for both series that we have watched IF play in today. You'll switch off of it and instead go to the Twitch, which, to be fair, it's not like the Finka hasn't been doing a lot for them, but maybe either trying to recapture the energy of Swalen or just recognizing that Twitch does have some valuable utility, especially going on here. There's no mutes. You can shock those ADSs, take down those Thunderbird stations. There's plenty of things you can use Twitch for on the site, and the F2 as well. Again, it's like the same logic I said with Maverick. primary utility on Coastline isn't always what decides whether or not to bring an operator. If you're comfortable on it and you can get those frags on an op, pick it. If you have the utility, you still have some nades, some flashes at your disposal. Arrow even rotates back to Zofia, maybe to allow for that pick or to give themselves some more utility. But the big thing I want to see here, Benny, because we saw IF win it the first time, completely flawless, is one shot having a little bit more success on that roam and not just getting cut down every which way.
Yeah, in this instance, I would say probably one shot needs to be more adhering to help each other out because they were allowed for IF to just kind of work together and pinch out every single player on that roam, one after another, to isolate them and get those kills. Hopefully, one shot this time can work together to see if they can at least band together and stop that pinching out, stop that coordination from IF before it happens. Stormers once again. I don't think Stormers here. I'm not sure if Stormers was last time, but still another play in Sunrise, expecting to stop the play, stop the push from IF into Sunrise. They drone him out. They figure out he's there. Last time, the big thing was taking control of Office. Well, the first pick was Slippery onto Slippery from another angle. I don't know where from that first time. But still, getting the first pick was kind of what snowballed into it. So they're trying to drone at this player inside of Sunrise. Looks like they've backed off for the moment. Maybe a better play. Maybe staying alive may be better than trying to take those fights, even though one shot does like to play that way.
Yeah, thankfully for them, not much resistance being felt just yet by investigation file. Still poking and prodding, seeing what they can and can't get away with, what intel they can and can't gather. One bit of intel right now, there is a drone currently pinging Swaylen inside of Office, but whether by cognizance of that fact or just pure chance, he'll rotate out of security almost as soon as those pings start happening. Still not in the best position, one that could be pinched out by members of IF. In fact, there's one member outside of main door right now, but unfortunately for him being Arrow, he's got his gun down, so he can't catch the Mozzie rotating back up, who can now effectively either rotate back to the site or aid his teammate on the extension. 5-5 at the moment. Nobody taking any damage really overall. Giddy is in position to use this verticality, and they have a lot at their disposal, but one shot certainly have the time to set up and account for anything that IF can throw at them.
And next step's going to be whether or not are they going for hookah push or are they going for a billiards push here. If they're going for the hookah push, the next step is going to be deal with these players, Vase, take control cool vibes for their team, and they have the buck here as well with them, so they can at least try and push out these players who may be playing inside of hookah, maybe playing the corner by the by the couch or the sofa. So that could be a big one here, and then they're gonna work together to flash out Vase, push the player out, and work together to do that. Though time is running out, 30 seconds left to go, and again, this is what IM's biggest issue always is leaving it up to the last 30 seconds to make a play happen.
And unfortunately here, we're still wondering what that play is. It appears to be Giddy getting that kill. Put on low HP, so by no means a surefire gunfight, the one he won against Swaylen. Kilo drops down, takes him down. So now this is just another thing that I have to account for with 10 seconds remaining. They don't know he's going prone on the blue wall, so he takes down Inrio, and all your players who are meant to push up cool vibes are cut down. Your entry of Vivid trying to open things up in the site, move the bomb on, get it on the floor, take it down as well. Your only guy left is stuck on big window with not a hope of winning the round for your team. One shot move up 3-1 on the defense. They've won 3 rounds in a row.
Yeah, that's a big one too. Just leaving up to the last 30 seconds. Sure, they get the first pick, but you're leaving up at 30 seconds to run up those cool vibe stairs with still a smoke on the board. And then, of course, a player jumps down. It's just like one shot to have someone jump down the courtyard, Kilo jumping down, getting those kills with the DMR, and really just stopping IF from using that kill as a snowball to push further in. They had the foot in the door, but players were ready to stop them happening. And really, again, I have big issues waiting to the last dying second, stalling out, not sure what the play is. And we even questioned what was the unified goal at that point. Looks like they were going for a hookah push at the end there, but they didn't really have the control they needed. They weren't able to deal with those players in Vase. They didn't try to, X Kairos single wall to push those players out. They didn't think Kilo was going to jump down courtyard and kill them all.
Also, one thing to note, Benny, we just saw Arrow 6-pick to it, but transfer from the Zofia to the Nomad. Nomad has gone unbanned on Coast, and up until this point has not been played. I almost didn't even realize that.
Yeah, no, Nomad doesn't banned at all, and usually that's what IF does ban.
Not only that, I think Arrow would transfer at any role, it'd be that Nomad. Flank Watch, you don't get the same utilities, the E1D, but you can deny those flanks. Something that Coastline is known for. I don't know. Odd that not only do we not see IF run it at all so far, but that isn't the op that Arrow immediately went to, and we're just now seeing it around number 5. Yet to see if it'll make any difference, because in all honesty, it's not really been the roam or the retakes that have been their biggest issue. just been, again, transferring onto the site. That's been the big problem so far. Sometimes those roamers can hurt them, but it's more isolated incidents and not indicative of a pattern overall.
Well, maybe because they always ban Nomad. That's why nobody plays it.
I mean, that's fair. That's a fair reason. Kind of the reason a lot of people might not play Thatcher when he's left up.
Because they don't believe it, they don't practice it. So maybe that's why they didn't think of really bringing it. So
Ah.
they finally bring it on now. But as you said before, the roam game really wasn't that big of an issue. Nobody's really jumping out except for that, Kilo last round. Nobody's making brazen plays. Nobody's taking crazy peeks on them. It's just been, as you said, isolated incidents or just incidents where they're transferring onto the site with no time and they're walking into one shot who are ready and waiting for those fights. So again, last time we did this, this same tech, it was Giddy unfortunately starting us off. He tries to get into Hookah, tries to get in the billiard, kind of gets stuck in the wall, gets taken out by Quartz. Quartz takes 2. He deals with that vertical pressure entirely, and it's one shot that just kind of waiting for IF to make a play.
So we'll see if IF's playmaking ability, when not inhibited by a rotate, is a lot more effective. Though I will say, Quartz has taken down Giddy with a bugged rotate and without a bugged rotate, so I think just be wary of Quartz in general. In this case, be wary of Storms, who managed to find, I think, maybe through a long angle through one of the holes. I'm not actually entirely sure how Storms managed to damage Giddy so much, if that was him who got it. I heard the Roni shoot, so I'm assuming it's what it was. See the hole right there, so maybe just shot through it, played from below. The Giddy's going back to work with what he does best on the soft destruction, using that verticality, whether on the buck or the sledge. But here's Quartz getting aggressive once again. He'll rotate back down a little bit as Subarctic is watching, so if he would rotate up, he would almost surely die if he made that aggressive play. But IF are setting up their attack once again, but with 1 minute and 10 seconds left, they might be able to execute, but they'd be walking directly into a 5-man stack.
Well, it looks like they opened up that wall that Kilo was playing, but Kilo backs off. He did impact trick one of them, and there's Quartz walking up cool vibes. Nobody's there to cover him. Subarctic, too late in that push, allows for Giddy to go down. And now with that parallel down, he did do a lot of damage. Giddy still did a lot of work. Allows for, makes it so that Quartz really can't stay in Sunrise safely. But this is just going to spring one shot into action and start taking fights, and they're in the man advantage to do so. Though with that wall open, they can push into pink and get that plant down. The question now is, what does one shot have to stop it? They have 2 smoke canisters. They have no C4s available, so they don't have a lot of indirect indirect utility here to stop it. Slippery, another kill on Arrow. It's going down, and they're winning every single fight. Maybe at least a kill on site, but Storms and Slippery are doing so much damage to one shot. I mean, to one shot. IF, it's not just Vivid in a 1v4.
Yeah, that's sort of the issue. I saw Vivid and Enrio work their way into sight. It was like, okay, they might be able to get the bomb down, but then everyone around Vivid died, and now Vivid has died as well. That normally when you see 2 players enter sight like that and there is literally no recourse in the defense, you get real worried about the defense's chances, and you're like, oh, there's a bomb going down, or at least going to be put on the floor, maybe not completed. But there, that didn't happen. They just walked into the site. They were like, okay, see if we can make something happen. Fortunately for them, their other 2 teammates above them died. Then Enrio died. It was like, well, can't really do much anymore. That's kind of awkward. And that was the round at that point. But Benny, fun fact, by the way, 5 rounds played so far. In 3 of them, the opening duel has been Quartz finding Giddy. I'm not saying there's a trend there, but I'm saying 3 of the 5 rounds we've played so far, the main player who is using verticality on Coastline, a map that it is very powerful and can make some sites borderline unplayable if a few key holes are opened up, is dying as the first pick, and it's the same dude who's doing it every time.
The same dude, that same Quartz guy keeps killing him.
He keeps rotating up these stairs and peeking up through the holes. It's
just crazy. Like, what is going on here?
It's madness. Hey,
I think the craziest part was Subarctic was watching those stairs too.
That was probably just an unfavorable angle. I joked actually. I joked earlier about us subbing in for Quartz and Storms. If I were subbing in for Quartz, I would make those plays. I'm very passive to a fault in these games. I would not have the confidence to just in a 5v5 be like, hey, as smoke, I'll push up the stairs, see if I get a kill. Like, oh, I'm not crazy.
But yeah, no, we started off this game a flawless round from IF, and I was thinking, okay, this is gonna be pretty competitive. But now one shot has won every single round and every single first engagement too. It's
reminiscent of their aerial game. Aerial started off, they won 1 round, then one shot quite literally won every single round played after that. That's unfortunately for IF what I am getting flashbacks of at the moment. I don't think it was a flawless from aerial, but still, they won that 1 round. But since then, they've done pretty well in the early game. But ironically enough, their strength so far today has been that transition from the early to mid round into an execute. It's their weakness now. they're
Yeah,
not
it's
able to
interesting that one
transition.
shot aren't engaging early, so it allows for IF to take control and do what they need to do. But once they transfer and they go for those engagements, one shot are winning them every single time.
Maybe, and hey, maybe it'll be different for IF on the defense, and we'll just see a hella defender-sided Coastline today. But
Hmm?
we saw overall, Benny, that transfer being so powerful, and thinking about how, again, this is one of IS permabans. I try to be optimistic and say, hey, maybe they have something up their sleeve. Perhaps I was wrong. Perhaps I was
Maybe. Oh, you're
incorrect.
gonna say CJ was right? Oh my god, you gonna get admit
CJ's right every now and then. Let's not be rude. When I put him in the desk host spot for approximately 2 minutes and he was not wrong.
Oh.
Wow, okay. That was...
Storm's looking for early kill.
Don't need to do that. It's 4-1. Don't get too crazy.
Hey, but that's the point. They're 4-1. They can get aggressive, right?
I hate that logic. I despise that logic.
But either way, we're on a kitchen service defense for one shot once again, and it was again last time it was Giddy, unfortunately, on the buck trying to create those angles for his team, and he's by himself. But even though he's by himself, it wasn't somebody flanking him. It was Quartz playing in service to kill him off, and it was Inrio then to try and take his place. But it's just one player after another trying to use that vertical pressure, not finding anything, and then transferring or trying to transfer to horizontal in one shot are just ready and waiting, taking those fights in the positions outside of sight.
It's funny.
So I don't know what's gonna differ.
Well, it's funny too because it's clearly enough of an importance that they switched Subarctic onto the sledge, an operator he just quite simply has not really played, not only over the course of the season, but in playoffs so far. So Giddy's dying so much to Koritz, and they decided to bring a redundant operator for that fact. Again, primary utility is the most important, but that's what I see, and that's a little bit worrying for IF. They keep losing Giddy in those engagements. Minute 30 of the round has now passed, and, well, that's just unfortunate. 4th time in a row, not the opening pick, but Quartz has now killed Giddy 4 out of the 6 rounds we have played so far, but you have Subarctic on that sledge, Benny, who can open up these ceilings, who can put pressure on Quartz, combined with the X-Kairos as well. In terms of utility, it's not all said and done.
At least it was an opening pick.
That is true. It was only the second one.
But still, yeah, it's the trend. It's been crazy that this entire half has been Quartz every single round, just stopping that from happening. But at least we find out by Subarctic. So again, like you said, that redundancy was big there. Doubt with Quartz. They had the first kill on the Kilo, so they have the man advantage. But now the question is, can they transition correctly, deal with these players that are in positions around them? But Swaylin jumped up one of the hatches inside of security, deals with Inrio early, actually probably jumped inside of Aqua. An arrow elsewhere though takes out Slippery, so it's still looking good for IF, but they need to be aware of where these defenders are at, like Swaylin.
Oh no, that is the most abysmal timing I have seen so far. The moment Arrow looks away is exactly when Swaylin peaks, but there's Subarctic, not only operational redundancy, but positioning as well. There for the trade, so not redundant, I suppose. He's able to trade that out, stop Swaylin, but there's Storms inside of the site. Subarctic is there once again, but Storm stops. Just at the cliff's edge, behind the fridge. He doesn't peek with diffuser control in hand. He can watch. Subarctic can't get through the rotate, unfortunately. Right as the Irini peeks out, he misses the shots. Confusingly enough, confoundingly, Subarctic on low HP, Storms goes to peek out, ends up winning the fight. A confusing, chaotic, hectic 1v2, whatever word you want to use. We know that one shot have got a 5-1 half on Coastline defense. That's not good. That's not good for IF.
He peeked out the door and he's just reloading.
It's almost like they say that when you get brain freeze, your brain just stops recording info. When Storms took that fight, it's like my brain just stopped. I was like, what am I looking at right now? Like, this man is reloading and peeking, and I'm not comfortable.
But either way, that round was, again, the start was a good pick from IF, though. They get the first pick after so many rounds and not getting the first pick. But they lose Giddy once again to Quartz. So, but they have the redundancy of Subarctic. But Subarctic does kill Quartz in return. So it's still big for them. But then again, the big issue always is transferring to the horizontal and the players who are off the site, who you don't know where they are. Swaylin being one this time, and he was on the Oryx. So he jumps up a hatch in Aqua, goes for a flank, kills Inrio, and then kills Arrow as well, who's outside, who didn't know his position. There was a refrag at least because they had players in that position, but then you get into a 2v2, you kill the Oryx finally, you get the refrag, put in a 1v2, but those two players are apart, which just leaves a 1v1 with no time left once again because it's IF.
Benny.
Yeah.
Swaylen 6-pick to Twitch.
Hey, are we gonna have the
Oh,
replay
no.
of Cafe?
Oh, no. I'm worried. I'm scared. I joke, but if Swaylen could pull out a almost 20 bomb on Cafe running Twitch, who I will say, as CJ mentioned, he was not just running it for the gun. He was actually running Twitch very well in terms of the utility and also getting kills. So he was, again, a very good Twitch for both those reasons. But on Coastline as well, where, as I said earlier, the utility isn't sometimes the most important part. He got 20 kills earlier. I'm worried at what he can do right now. Court's also with the LMG, making good use for why the LMG is so good. He sees a hole in the floor, knows Inrio is playing it, says, oh yeah? No. And just starts pre-firing it. Inrio has to rotate off or else he will die. So he can entry into kitchen, but of course, he ends up rotating out. So not all the most impactful in the long run.
There is so much utility on Cool Vibe Stairs.
There is quite a lot of utility on Cool Vibe Stairs, Benny. There's a lot.
Banshee, there's a mute jammer, there's
Magnets.
there's disc.
Probably a bulletproof cam sitting there as well.
There's so much utility on. Well, you're gonna stay on Cool Vibe Stairs. Looks like an impenetrable fortress utility-wise, at least. So it'll be interesting to see how One Shot deal with it if they engage with that. They've droned it out, and yeah, so far, One Shot haven't done much, but they have control of that bottom floor. Droning out, making sure nobody's playing aggressive from IF, which has been their motive, is not playing aggressive per se. They've always been playing that bunker, which on Coastline, I'm not sure how well it's going to work for them, really. But One Shot so far haven't really taken much control, and there's players like Arrow who are off-site, though. They're playing, horizontally off-site, so they at least can get some aggression, can try to stop some of that transfer from One Shot when they go for it. Arrow actually drops down. I think there was a drone actually watching him, too.
I think there might have. Vivid will actually rotate down Cool Vibes to get that first kill. No, there was definitely just not a drone watching. Slip walks in looking the wrong way. Will flick at the last second, so maybe he knew, and it was just poor timing or poor angle watching and clearing. But right now, whatever it is, it's collective on the side of One Shot, and not the singular problem with Slippery, since it's now a 2v5. Swaylen and Kilo, the only two left. One, the latter, stuck outside on Hookahbalk, and actually both stuck outside on Hookahbalk. But at least they have each other to hold hands and wonder how they're going to win this in the final 40 seconds, because the issue is, not only are there 5 members alive on the side of IF, but as Benny mentioned, all that utility they have to cut through. The shield's still watching Hookahbalk. If they want to rotate and go up Cool Vibes, a lot of utility there as well. Their only option would be to rotate Aqua, and that would be on the entirely opposite side of the map. Not a viable one. They'll instead try to go VIP, or at least Kilo will. He'll get the first kill, but lose a lot of HP in the process, and until be relayed to the rest of IF that he's playing in this position. Ooh. But a brilliant nade sent through the drone hole that takes down Arrow. If he's able to get this kill as well, which unfortunately he misses the shots, that could have been Benny, the play that one shot the round. But he misses, and the final 2 members die. IF get their first round since the very first one.
That was almost a turnaround for One Shot. That was quite almost a turnaround for them, but really the big part was the fact that One Shot didn't do a lot in the first half of the round. They finally started to convene on Cool Vibe Stairs, but by the time they convened, IF had known their positions and had sent out their flanks, their aggression onto One Shot. You saw members pushing down from Courtyard. I think I saw Inrio walking in from Courtyard towards Sunrise. We saw the kill from Arrow, who dropped down from the bedroom hatch going through kitchen. So unfortunately, One Shot didn't quite have the urgency to push up, and by the time they had finally gotten the marbles together, IF at that point had sent out their flankers or interlopers to stop that entire play from happening in the first place, leaving it to a 2v5, which Kilo almost made worthwhile that way. He actually put his way into the VIP, got some really good picks, great grenade. If he'd gotten a third pick, maybe they would have won, but the problem is that last player with him on Hookah was killed up by another player, so he would still be in a 1v2 in that position, so I don't really know.
When you bring that up, that is kind of an issue, but I like to think they would have won. I like to think they would have won it.
He believes in Kilo.
I believe in Kilo. Plus, it would have been a nice shot anyway, so we could have talked about that at least.
True.
Good round to start out for IF. Then again, they started out their attacking round with a good one, and that was the only one. So they need to make sure that we don't follow the same trend here. They managed to get that aggression, that calculated aggression, like Benny said, happens a second go around. That's great. But we need to see a little bit more from One Shot before we make a judgment on that fact. One thing that Connor specifically hyped up before we got into the game, and CJ as well, was that One Shot's floods and flooding into the site is typically better than IF. So if One Shot are able to get that opening pick, maybe be a bit more active, I think they can just immediately hit the site, or maybe not immediately, but hit the site and probably win it out based on the pedigree they have in CL so far. But we actually need to see them do that yet. We still have, potentially 5 more rounds to see that happen. I'm sure we will, but we need to see it now. And if One Shot do it, they're up on match point.
Well, potentially. If they can deal with these players inside of Sunrise, they could try to flood, but they're on the top floor. They're trying to get that vertical play like we've seen from both teams so far. And really, nobody from IF are playing it horizontal or vertically either. Just like we saw from One Shot, they're all playing horizontally, expecting it. Now, is someone going to be the antithesis to Storms here, like we saw from Quartz and Giddy on their engagements? Because otherwise, you know, Storm's just going to have a fun time just dealing with these anchors on site, but actually nobody, looks like all the anchors have actually cleared out of Sunrise, so nobody's going to feel the wrath of Storms opening up above, for the moment at least.
Might be maneuvering to play for the retake from IF, just letting them have Sunrise, let them open their holes, enter into the site, but we've got all these angles we can contest. We can swing from just behind the bar, or from long haul, or from blue inside of office, and deny you from fully gaining control of that site. Until then, One Shot can get whatever they want. They can open up those holes, or not whatever they want, but they can open up those holes or make their way into Sunrise, try to make some headway in, say, the Mudroom, for example. Beyond that, there's not much they can do until they get to that point, but we are at that point. Thankfully, Kilo's starting to get the bomb down on couches. Swalen, or Arrow, manages to find Swalen. So while One Shot lose the opening duel, not only do they trade out, get a second on top of all that, they've got the bomb on the floor, and it's going incredibly well. Arrow is the only one who got a kill, getting aggressive on that roam, but now he's the only one left. He manages to find one, and the second one as well is all alone, but he does not check the angle, not aware of Slippery's presence. He even sprints with his gun down, minimizing and dropping to 0 his chances of recovering. And One Shot, they hit the flood, Benny. They did it. Now they're on match point.
Yeah, it sounds good. It's kind of what I talked about in that time when we played double bar with IF, was that if you just clear the top floor, you create that vertical pressure, it makes it very difficult to stop the play in the first place. You talk about retakes, but like trying to walk back into Sunrise with all the vertical pressure, and if someone's playing inside of Mudroom and watching that rotate between sites, pretty damn possible. I would say possible, very difficult to push back into site, which we just saw from One Shot. And I talked about antithesis. Nobody from IF tried to stop them from opening up that entire floor above. Nobody went for a flank except for Arrow, which Arrow went to, unfortunately, too late. By that point, they had all the control they needed. They had the plant down too. So, unfortunate from IF, nobody really played an aggressive role there, which has kind of been the issue with IF a lot of times on the defense.
But now seeing that adjustment made on the attack as well, it's not difficult to see a world where IF wins, because it was difficult to see a world where PB won earlier, and we know how that happened on Bank, so I'm not counting it out by any means. But seeing that One Shot make that adjustment so quickly into the method that they needed to undertake and implement in order to win that round, it's looking difficult for IF. Moving to Kitchen, it's another round. It might be a little bit more complex than Blue Benny. You might disagree, but you still need to get that verticality, and One Shot had no problem getting that before. They can just immediately go in, open up the ceiling, look down through those holes. That's what they did on Blue Bar and Sunrise. It makes sense that they might be able to do it on this go as well. It's a little bit more complex here because there is a much more concentrated extension. We have a shield watching Hookah, some reinforcements dedicated to it as well. So it's not just free. They will have to actually fight for it. That VIP wall being reinforced as well means it's not nearly as easy. But as long as they get it, even if they push him back and it's a 5v5, they're looking in about as good of a shape as they did on Blue Bar.
It could be, really. Oh, grenade comes out, destroyed the shield in the face. Actually, no, it won't. It looks like it was caught by an ADS, but Sparky's still going to push back anyway, just in case. Looking for a chance to maybe swing onto the players outside of Hookah. Grenade comes out. He swings at the wrong time into the grenade. Down goes Subarctic. That's not a good start here for IF. And a really big thing, too, as well, is the fact that if they gain control of VIP, which looks like Kilo's trying to do so right now as the Maverick, it's not going to be hard to just open up the bottom floor, push these players out, and we need to see some people get aggressive and stop that vertical pressure, which Subarctic's trying to do, but he's lost his life in the process of doing so.
And here we are in that exact same position. All that utility and one Subarctic up top, but I believe there was one other person upstairs as well who is now rotated down. Minute in, and One Shot can start opening up the floor. And there are plenty of positions on Kitchen and Service, as I mentioned earlier, that once a few holes are opened up, become very hard to hold, such as back freezer like you see. However, there's a rotate made in the wall by IF that gives them a little bit more flexibility to hold this site. They might not be able to contest directly, but they can contest from main lobby and either play for that retake, or if nobody clears it out, just use it as almost, again, an extension of their defensive site to hold and try to contest anybody from moving in and getting that bomb on the floor. But right now, it's see Kilo vault in through that window and start to put the bomb on the floor. Smoke grenades go out, and yes, it does land well enough that not only does it push Kilo off the plant, but does a hell of a lot of damage to him as well. He'll even drop the diffuser, maybe give it to somebody else, and in this time, in this chaos, for One Shot at trying to get the bomb down, one member of One Shot has fallen, but it's not before Storms answers back because of those vertical holes. Divot on the smoke is now fallen, so all that tools you had to stop Slippery from putting the bomb on the floor is now completely gone. But through the chaos, we come through in a 2v2 with One Shot actually looking, in terms of health, like the ones on the more disadvantaged side. But it's balanced out by the fact that they have that bomb on the floor, they have rotated outside, and they have these angles and can play the time, as opposed to the defense, who needs to get active. One goes to try to take the gunfight to Storms, but he's not aware of his position. Storms gives it away a little bit too early. Enrio rotates on in, but Storms manages to win the fight in ace territory right now. Arrow contemplates going for the castle barricade, and honestly, that might have worked. But unfortunately, he retakes the gunfight, and that's exactly what happens. An outside angle will usually beat a defender trying to go for a post plant. A 7-2 victory for One Shot, and I can't help but say, I think a lot of us are disappointed, especially after this was map 3, and IF winning on One Shot's map pick.
I 100% agree too, because I thought at that point, even though they're going for the plant, the smoke had died. If they had control of courtyard, which they did, they were peeking it too late to stop the plant. If they had just had people in courtyard earlier, they could have stopped that plant from happening and made that a more possible round. On top of, well, the fact also, if they had won that round on Storms above and then they had castled the castle barricaded that window, it would have also gotten the disable off too. It would have been interesting to see that happen, but
that would have been,
unfortunately,
that would
didn't
awesome.
play out.
That would have been, I would have really enjoyed it if Arrow castled that barricade and then won that round. That would be, I would open Twitch and clip that for my own personal, just like, I'd bookmark that in like a file somewhere. But 7-2 for IF on Coastline. I would analyze a little bit more, but unfortunately we didn't see a lot from a team that I think a lot of us wanted to perform, especially after their upset against PB earlier. But that's all for Benny and I today. You might be thinking, oh, it's about 10 p.m. Eastern. No, we have one more match. Before we get there, go back to the desk so they can break down this lengthy series between IF and One Shot.
It would have been just a bit lengthier, but unfortunately, as you said, we only found ourselves in a 7-2 matchup at the final map there of Coastline. Connor, we talked about it. Actually, I'll go to cookies this time. I've been paying too much attention to you, Connor. Cookies.
All right, man.
We talked about it. We talked about it before this matchup. Going into Coastline, aggression was key. One Shot got the memo, and they capitalized. I mean, Investigation File didn't have a bad game. It was just, this was One Shot's map. They just outplayed them.
This map plays infinitely quicker than anything IF has been willing to play. Anything IF has been able to play. Quite frankly, a lot of their success has been on, the Oregons, the cafes, right? They've been banning Coastline a lot for a reason. We saw it today. I'm going to be honest with you, watching this one in green room, I'm sitting there, right? And I'm like, is this prep phase? Why are they moving with such a lack of, what's the word? Purpose.
Gusto.
Urgency.
Yeah, the urgency. It's like, okay, like there's 10 seconds left in the round. You'd think there's like 10 seconds left in the prep phase the way IF moves around on this map. And then it's very obvious why we haven't seen this map from them since Stage 1, when it was a playoff match that didn't even really matter that much, because it was just not a matchup that they wanted. One Shot played this so much better. Storms, I was roasting him. He was like 3-9 last map or whatever. Was at the bottom. He's at the top now. And Kilo again, still hovering near the top. Can't say enough good things about Kilo. And One Shot as a whole.
And Connor, look at this. Almost the flip from the very first map. They just showed that, hey, sometimes we don't always need Swaylin to do everything for us. The rest of us, we can't rest on our laurels. We can do things as well. And that's exactly what they did in this matchup. I mean, Courts, Kilo, Storms, they just popped off. And, I think there was a bit of a lull in that second map, but I think they realized it and picked it up.
Yeah, one of the weirdest things about a BO3 is that it's very hard to carry all 3 maps. And it really does take your full roster. It takes a village almost. And for One Shot, man, it's getting late.
It's getting late.
It's getting late. But for One Shot, they definitely have a village. They've got a full 5-man roster of everybody that can pop off at any given moment. No round is completely over until that clock hits 0, and sometimes even a couple seconds after it. plant is going down, as we learned with Quartz's clutch just a couple of maps ago. But overall, a really well played series by One Shot, pretty much showing why they deserved that number 1 seed coming out of Group A, and taking care of business and putting themselves into the upper bracket.
Speaking of Quartz, we're going to flip over to him for the interview right now, and I'll be right back with you guys to further break it down and, pump up the next match a little bit. Quartz, are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can.
This is huge. So good to talk to you again, my man. This was a big win for you guys. First and foremost, were you guys feeling, I know you got the bye and you'll take the bye, buys whenever you can get them, but were you guys feeling a little cold coming into the matchup, or were you guys well warmed up?
No, I feel like we were warmed up. It was definitely stressful to like watch the games before, and I wanted to play. We all wanted to play, and then we had to wait like 6 hours before our game started. But yeah, we were ready.
Yeah. Now, you yourself, the first 2 maps weren't the strongest that we've seen from you, but I've got to say that third map, when it all comes down to it and it really matters, you more than made up for it.
Yeah, I felt like I kind of trolled the first couple of maps. I don't know, I was stressed. I don't know, I was shaking. I can't explain it. I just didn't play well. I'm gonna have to step up for the next few games, obviously. But yeah, I played well last map, so I guess I'm happy with that.
Well, I mean, you contributed to moving on, so at the end of the day, you can't really fault that.
Oh, yeah.
But then, not just yourself, but I mean, the rest of your team. What can you say about these guys? Because between each of the maps, all of them, especially you look back at Swalen on that first map, like, your team just has this ability for any of you to be the absolute difference makers when it comes down to it.
Oh yeah, I think we've got a team of 5 or at least 4 playmakers. All these guys are just crazy, and anyone can pop off at any time, right? Swin had a crazy game, map 1. We literally won the map because of him. So, I mean, yeah. But yeah, they're hard workers. I mean, team with them. I've never teamed with teamed with people that are dedicated to the grind and such hard workers. So it definitely feels good to be teaming with those guys, and I'm really really glad.
Yeah. And one last quick question for you. This next matchup, it's going to be Wichita Wolves taking on Aerial Arise. Do you have a preference of who moves on from that matchup?
Absolutely not. We just gotta prove. At the end of the day, if we want to make I mean, our goal is to finish first, right? And if we don't finish first, it's like finishing last. So we just gotta prove that we're better than everyone. So whoever made the best win, and we'll play whoever gets there. But yeah, it's no big deal for us.
Well, that sounds great, Quartz. Thank you so much for your time, and good luck in the rest of the tournament.
Thank you very much.
Have a good one.
You too.